Welcome to the Josh Huisman Podcast.
Welcome to another week of the podcast. I am your host, Josh Huisman, and I'm so glad that you are here each and every week. And just want to remind you, if you enjoy the podcast, to share it with your friends, click, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and let people know about it so that we could really grow this show and get more people listening, more people involved. And today is an extra special episode as we are into January, and I've been wanting to have this lady on for a long time. Her name is Sarah Huisman.
Yes,
Sarah,
that's what they call me.
That's what her name is Sarah Huisman. She is my wife. We have been married. We got married in the year 2000. So it has been a good run, and she is here today. So why don't you go ahead and say hello to everyone, and let's get this thing going.
Hello, everyone. I take comfort in knowing that we can edit out whatever we need to because this is not my area of expertise.
Yes, it is. I would say that it is.
I prefer talking to middle schoolers.
Well, you do a great job.
Thank you.
Sarah worked with our middle school students here at the church and has been doing, it's been about 2 years now. That
2.5.
2.5. Mm-hmm. What made you want to work with middle school students?
Well, I just like working with youth in general, and they're at a nice age where they're old enough to understand a lot of what you're saying, and yet not old enough that they think they know way more than you. They're intrigued and interested a lot of the times, and it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of respect for you because I remember when I was doing the youth ministry days and middle school students who I love and I think they're awesome, but their energy and their excitement and their unwillingness to bottle that and like kind of slow it down a little bit, that made me go, I think I'm getting too old for youth ministry. And then you came along and you're like, I want to do it. And I was like, really? Mm-hmm. What possessed you to do that? So anyway, you do it and you do an awesome job with it. So,
but I don't have to do lock-ins. Gavin does the lock-ins.
Yeah, that is true.
So that's a plus.
It is a plus because lock-ins are, that was, I always told people that was it. That's when lock-ins were the thing that knocked me out for a week. Yep. And I had to catch up on my sleep. Mm-hmm. Couldn't even have it anymore. Saw that. So anyway, it's really cool to finally have you on here. It's been a long time I've been wanting to, and we've never like made the schedules work or any of that fun stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of neat if we went down a little bit. Maybe we could let people in a little bit on our lives and what we experience on a ministry basis as we've now been. Do you realize we've been serving in full-time ministry for over 20 years? Yeah. Have you? What's it like to have weekends? What's it like?
We don't know.
I was telling Sutton earlier today, we were sitting and I said, the one thing about ministry that I was thinking about was I'm having a difficult time remembering what it's like to just be a guy, like just be a person in an experience and just be a part of church and not have a hand in what's going on and all of those things. Do you have, what are your memories of those times before we got into this?
Well, you really want me to be honest?
Yeah.
My memories of that are me saying, let's go join this group. And you saying, really?
Yeah.
Till we got to, till we were called to King's Community Church. And then that was neat because that was your home church. And so there was a lot of neat things to get involved in there, like the Easter play and so many fun things. So, but as far as like connect groups, my memory was me saying, come on, let's try it. And you embraced it and we had fun. We met a lot of awesome people. Yeah.
Well, you're being extra nice because the truth of it is I played baseball in college and was involved in a lot of games and stuff, and our schedules in the spring didn't allow for much church involvement and activity. And I know
I was praying.
Yeah, you were. And I remember when those days ended, I've really in recent years now understood the importance of routine and habits, and you can develop good routines and bad routines. And I think coming out of playing baseball all the time and being in the spring, and you create a habit of not being in church, even though I grew up in church. And then when that baseball thing ended, I had a difficult time making that transition back into getting involved in the church world, and then we got married. You graduated college in
2000.
In 2000, we got married in August 2000 and started it. In fact, we did something, folks, that I don't recommend to a lot of people.
No.
We got married, and then we loaded up a moving van after the honeymoon and moved to Oklahoma to be a part of this band that I was doing at the time. And so
I filed taxes that year in the state of Alabama, where I worked in the spring semester, in the state of Illinois, where I worked in the summer when I went home, in Indiana, where I lived in the summer when I worked in Illinois, and then in the state of Oklahoma, when we moved to Oklahoma, and then the federal taxes. And then it was all paper and pencil, and I had done something wrong, so I had to do an amended one as well. That year was a whirlwind.
That's how bad you wanted to marry me.
That is true. and I'm coaching Tyler, the college student that we have now, on what not to do.
On what? Because we did it. We did it. We have a list of many things not to do in those early years of marriage. And so, we drove this moving van, and we're down to Oklahoma. We're just so far away from family.
And it broke down.
And the van broke down. In fact, we had multiple moves where I don't know that we had a move where a moving van didn't break down. Of like the 4 or 5 times that we've moved
across state.
And then when we finally got to Nashville in 2006, we're like, this is it. Like, no more moving vans.
That's right.
And we've been here ever since. And so it's been a great ride. But you did. I know you were praying for me, and I remember a lot of those times in college. I was never into any bad things or anything like that. But I just was in a habit of not being as involved in church as I should have been. And you were praying, and I would share different things. I would tell you stories. In fact, I have this one story. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Where it was at Northern Illinois Universities, where the last semester, so I could finish school early. And I was in this restaurant, and this guy comes up to me out of nowhere. I've never seen it. And he's like, hey, I've seen you playing basketball at the rec center. You remember this story?
I think so.
And he's like, I've been watching you play basketball at the rec center, and, I've been involved in my ministry thing here on campus, and we've been looking for people to disciple. And I was just thinking maybe you would be someone who I could disciple. And this guy said this to me, and I was so offended. I was like, I've grown up in church. My parents have worked in ministry. And who is this guy who just gets started in ministry? And you and I, were we dating at the time?
Probably.
We Sarah and I have
when you were at Northern, yes, we probably were.
We probably were. So anyway, I told this guy, no, whatever. And I came back to my apartment. I called you and I said, listen to this. This guy comes up to me out of nowhere. And he starts talking to me, and he's asking me if he can disciple me, and who does he think he is? And I grew up in church and did this whole deal, and you're like, now I've since been married to you long enough to know, but at the time all I hear is like silence on the other end of the phone.
Which, if it had been me, because people were saying that to me too, it was kind of the in thing. I hate to say it at the time. People walking around announcing that they were going to disciple everyone else. And I kind of reacted the same way. But
in my case,
right.
In my case, you were like, I think this might be a good idea. It's funny. I've told this story before to the church once or twice, and I never saw that guy again. I never saw him before that. Like sometimes I wonder, like, I don't want to like go angelic or anything like that, but I was like, was this an angel that God sent to me?
It was a prodding.
It was. Yeah, it definitely was.
Got you thinking, maybe.
Yeah, it did. And so, but I do remember your silence on that side of it, because you were like praying, well, we're going to need to get involved somewhere at some point. And so we definitely did, So
and it wasn't just me praying. We know that your family was always praying for you too.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for all of our parents praying for us.
Yeah, definitely. And, so we went to Oklahoma. We won't spend too much time on that. We were in Oklahoma for a little while. It was just too far away from home.
It was very far.
And I was at the time wanting to be involved in music and writing and things of that nature. And we had some family, my cousin Wendy and John, who were living in Franklin, Kentucky. And we moved to that area. And it was...
Because we could afford it.
Yeah.
Without jobs.
Yeah.
We had to find jobs. We always moved at that time without jobs, which I do not recommend. Yeah. But at least we could mooch off John and Wendy with their cable and their washer and dryer, etc.
Yeah. So this is what's funny. Yeah, we needed some family to help us out there. Of course, I remember that we didn't have cable either, and so I would go to their house and watch TV.
We had a key.
Yeah.
They had only been married 2 years, and we would just be on their couch watching TV, or maybe a couple more years. But anyway, yeah, they were good to us. They were kind.
This is how it begins, folks.
Yes.
And yeah, so I posted a video, actually a reel on Instagram not too long ago, walking around that block that we lived across from John and Wendy. And we had a couple different churches we tried out when we lived in Bowling Green for like 3 years, I think. Is that how long we were there? 3 years? It might have been 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And
2. We were only there 2 years. It
2?
seemed like longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah.
And so one of the churches, the one that we ended up at, which I often talk about as being one of my favorites, is Ridge Pond Baptist Church, which Tyler, our son who's in college at Western Kentucky, goes to now.
Still an awesome church.
Yeah, with Pastor Steve Hussung, and one of these days
Benji and Gina
Harmon, good friends that we have there. One of these days I'm going to get Pastor Steve to come down here and be on this podcast, and we'll talk about some memories.
That man could remember everyone's name. It blew me away how he would meet you one time and he would remember your name and he would come up and say hello and know your name. I was amazed. Yeah. I don't have that skill.
So here's what he did to me that always stuck with me. So we'll get into this a little bit. So I'm sitting in the pew in Ridge Pond, and I don't know where you were and why you left me all alone, but you did. And I was sitting in the pew by myself, and I'm sitting there, and he comes up and he taps me on the shoulder and said, "Hi, I'm Pastor Steve, and nice to meet you." And I was like, why is the pastor talking to me right now? What?
I want to be anonymous.
Yes. We're here to kind of hang out and check the place out, And then he called. And so let me ask you this. I don't know that I've ever asked you this. Did you tell him to call me?
Oh, I don't think so. No, I really don't. I don't remember ever.
Because
that was a long time ago.
Right. When we started this off and you said we were in Connect groups, because then he called and he says, "Hey, we'd really love for you and your wife to be in a Sunday school class."
Yeah.
What? Like, you want me to come before?
Come early? Before the service? Are you kidding?
You want me to be involved in something that starts beforehand? And that's where it opened the door for you to just say, yes, we're going to do that.
I was dying to get involved.
Yeah. Well, okay. You always were wanting to get involved and go deeper. And
it was part of, as you talk about habits, I mean, that was ingrained in me. Wherever I was, I wanted to go to church and I wanted to be involved and I wanted people to know me and I wanted to feel like I was part of that body. And so, same thing when I went to college. When I went to college, I decided I wanted to go to school down south because I had visited you, but we were not dating and I was not going to follow you there. So I went to a different college, but I didn't know anyone there. And there were a whole bunch of Christian groups on the campus. So I really wasn't nervous because I knew I would be able to get to know other believers and have a family and I did. It was awesome. So anyway, then when we moved to Oklahoma, we went to a First Baptist church in Norman. And you had to be a member to teach. I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach the little kids because I had an elementary education degree. And I totally understood why they wanted you to be a member, and so that they could get to know you before they have you teaching their children. So we were in limbo. We didn't know how long we were staying. So I became a puppeteer.
Yes.
Because I was going to be involved in something.
It was, yeah. We're like, we can't join the church, but we can operate the puppets.
And I loved it.
Now I say
nice
we.
people.
You
did not.
No.
You were laying on the couch. It was like Sunday afternoons, and I would go back over there and learn how to be a puppeteer. It was fun.
You were the best puppeteer.
That wasn't for very long, because then we moved to Kentucky.
We did.
But I wanted to be part. I always wanted to be a part of things.
Let's talk about your time when you went to, because you're at South Alabama, and you joined. What was the name of the group that you joined? Was it a part of what church? You were at Dauphin Way?
So first, when I went, it's so great when you're new to a campus and they have all kinds of things going on for you to get to know people. So I had gone to the BCM, the Baptist Campus Ministries. I had gone to the campus outreach. Those were the two that I got to know the people the most. And you went on a retreat with me with the campus outreach. Those were around Christmas time. They were like winter retreats. They were awesome. I went to the one in Atlanta. In Atlanta. There was one in Atlanta, one in Gatlinburg. And then I also went on some trips with my Sunday school class in Dauphin Way Baptist Church. And that college class was awesome. What fun people.
And the name of the guy who led that class was
Jeff Kinley.
Jeff Kinley.
And he's an author now. He has books about, and I've listened to him speak about Revelation, and he's awesome. I think he's in Arkansas now. But man, he had such a love for God's word and was so excited about preaching God's word and talking to us. He made a huge impact on me with his excitement and teaching. But we went on some neat retreats with them as well.
Yeah, and your experience with that, I was at Ole Miss and I was involved with the FCA at Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. When I left Ole Miss, that's what I lost is the involvement in groups like that, which kind of made it difficult for me to stay connected and involved. And that's what became a challenge to get reconnected. Yeah. And then when you went to South Alabama and you got involved in your church group at your college group at church. And, one of the things, and I think through the years that we really learned from that experience, and now that we have kids of our own in college, is, a lot of times parents put a lot of emphasis on getting their kids involved in college in like Greek life, sororities and fraternities. Yeah. And they put such an emphasis on that. And you and I have learned that that's probably not the best place for your child. Mm-hmm. And in fact, from our own experience, the best place for your child is while you're looking at colleges, why not look for where these groups are that you can connect them to a church life?
Absolutely.
Before that.
It was just a continuous thing for me. I was very involved. My family was very involved in church growing up. And then I went off to school. I'm sure my parents, I was going very far away from home. And I know that they were trusting God and knew that I was going to be involved in these groups. And they helped me look at churches. They visited some with me. And so it just becomes a continuous thing instead of a gap in your life. When you go off to college, that's not time to leave the church. It's not like God says, "Oh, take a break." And God is with you. And so when you are with his family, you do find friends. Now, I do think in the day and age that we live, sometimes it's not as easy as it was for me. I was in Mobile, Alabama, and there were so many churches. I have heard stories of college students who have tried to find churches, and you're looking for a Bible-believing church. So if that is you, keep looking and don't give up. But so I don't want to make it sound like it's just real easy for everyone. That part came easy to me. But I also don't want to encourage people to just take a break from it. You don't have to seek out. If you're with the family of God and you're in Bible studies with people your age, you're going to bond with them you're really going to bond with them.
Right. And bonding is the right word. And I think God created each of us to be in community with one another. And what happens when we look for community outside of God is the things that bind us together might be unhealthy things. And so I'm not picking on fraternities or sororities or things like that. But I will say this. So if you're getting connected in your church group and you're in college group, and that's your community, that God created you for community. What is going to bind you together in a college group community in your church? The Bible, Scripture, the
Praying
relationships, praying for each other. That's what it should be built on and binding you together. And other things outside of that, if you're looking for community, I'll even use myself. Let me stop picking on, even in sports communities and things like that, where we're not, in the spring, we're playing games and things on Sunday morning. So we had to do things to develop our relationship with the Lord. When I was at Ole Miss, we had chapel. We would have someone who would come in and lead chapel services, and I was involved in those things. When I left, those things went away, and it became difficult. So then my community, the bonding in our community was things that weren't probably as healthy and weren't as good. So when all that to say, if your kid's going off to college, the first thing I think we both would say is be helping them and looking for what church you can connect them to, what student groups that preach the Bible and teach the Bible can you connect them to.
Right. I mean, talk about it, and then also just keep praying. Sometimes things don't happen in the time that we wish they would happen, but just keep praying. Don't give up.
Yeah. And you were a devoted person. When you have your mind set on something, you're going to do it. And so when you say back in your time in college, I mean, there was never a case where you were going to give up on that. You were going to find that group that you were going to be involved in.
Yeah.
So that was for sure.
Well, and there were multiple groups. It was fun. They were fun. It was just a matter of, well, I can't spend all my time at all of them. Yeah. I ultimately ended up being the most involved with the church group. Yeah. But I mean, we have some fun stories of some of the people that we met at the other groups. Yeah. So let me talk about this. It's kind of funny because every once in a while someone will say, well, if I get involved in church, somebody might say something that offends me, or somebody might say something that bothers me, and I want to get out and whatever. And so going back to the story, we're at Rich Pond, and let's see if you remember this. And, I get the phone call, Pastor Steve, and you want to get involved in Sunday school groups. And I'm like, all right, let's start going to a Sunday school group. And we had a couple that we were involved in, but I think the first one, and we won't say names, but there was someone leading. It was an older couple, guy who was leading, and we would sit in there, and here you're probably thinking, oh, I got Josh involved in Sunday school. Now we were going to church, mind you, but Sunday school, now this is an extra thing, right? And I'm sitting there, and just so y'all know, I grew up in a charismatic Pentecostal church, King's Community Church in South Holland, Illinois, and parents still are worship leaders there. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. And so here we go, and we're in the Sunday school group, and our leader, for some reason, did not like the charismatic Pentecostal churches, and he had some opinions about it. He did. And he would share them pretty openly. And you would sit there, and I was like, you probably were like, what is Josh thinking right now? Well, I would think, oh, no. Oh, gosh. But you didn't let it get to you. Thankfully. No, I should have, though. I should have been like, well, I never. And I should have slammed. But what's interesting about that is it's a perfect example of just the body of Christ. We're a mess. We all say really dumb things. And so hopefully we learn from the dumb things that we say, but we're going to have moments again. I've had so many. And so that's a perfect example of just you thankfully overlooking and forgiving his faults. And they actually were very kind people. Oh, yeah. And I have a feeling when we were out of work, I have a feeling they were the ones who were anonymously sending us money. And made food, had us over for dinner, and threw us a baby shower.
Yeah.
So he did say some things, but it's a perfect example of the body of Christ, and you just know that you're a family and you're going to get on each other's nerves, and you get over it and know that the pros of the body of Christ are way better than the cons.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. Like, as I share that. And
you knew it. You had grown up in the church.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. What you learn is, man, people will say things all the time.
Right.
That you got to develop some kind of a thick skin here, And that's where I feel bad, even to this day, with people who are just hop back and forth, thinking, and then they finally drop out, going, "I'm not going to go to church anymore because people are what? Like, people are what? People are people.
Yeah.
But it's the church, and it should be. You tell me why it should be. Tell me why it should be. Because Jesus is the one who forgave us of all of it.
And we just know that we need him.
Yes,
that's why we're the church.
Yeah, and we continue to show up every single day. That I've said this so many times. People are like, I've been hurt by the church. I was like, I got stories that will blow yours out of the water.
Right.
And if it didn't happen to me, I know someone it happened to,
right.
and so it's not, doesn't mean it's easy,
right?
But you're right. Like those things in those early first meetings we had, if I would like slam my hand, and we're out of here,
and you didn't at all.
No,
you would just kind of laugh about it on the way home. We
would have missed out on some great friendships that got formed out of that group,
sure.
And I still. When we left and we got called into ministry, and you were pregnant with Tyler, our oldest son, who's at Western Kentucky now, that I remember the going away party that class threw for us.
It was so sad.
At Mariah's. Mariah's and in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Well, it's not there anymore.
I know. I looked it up recently.
But anyway, so yes, a lot of great memories from that time for sure. So it was special. So we're at Rich Pond and then we get this call into ministry that I've talked about before. And for me, it started in youth ministry. You were pregnant with Tyler. When you had Tyler, that's another funny story we could say about the doctor who delivered Tyler was in that Sunday school class. And that was weird. That was a little awkward.
Yeah. We were referred to a doctor because we were pretty new to the area, and then we got the associate, and I didn't really know who any of them were, and we were sitting in the office, you and I, on the first visit, and all of a sudden I realized, is that the name of the guy in our Sunday school class? And yes, it was.
Yes.
It sure was.
This was another opportunity for us to go, we're out of here. Like, this ain't going to work.
But he was very professional.
Okay. This is...
But you know what was nice? When we were moving right after Tyler was born. You were flying up to Chicago, every couple of weeks, all summer long, to lead the youth group there. And I was back there in Kentucky till he was born. But he induced me because he knew we were moving.
Yeah. He took care of us. Made sure we needed Tyler to be born at a certain time.
Right.
And
just like our lives go.
We're like,
it needs to be on schedule.
We're hoping Tyler will be here a week early. Doctor, do you think he'll be here a week early?
Sure.
Yeah,
we can make that happen.
No problem. We will do that and make sure. So
anyway.
All right, so and that's interesting because here then we're called into ministry. We go up to the Chicago area and do youth ministry. We left Rich Pond Church in that class crying.
Yes, and Pastor Steve called us up and prayed for us like we were like these great missionaries or something. They were so nice to us.
I know, nicer than they should have been. That's for sure, 100%.
Anyway,
it's why to this day we still go up to Bowling Green and. We have very few opportunities to do it, but we did. When did we go? The last
Thanksgiving, they have a Sunday night service, and we went with Tyler.
Yeah,
and that was fun, and we could thank them for ministering now to our son.
And an amazing thing happened. This is awesome, folks. Okay, when we go there, like Benji and Gina know us, friends like that, but nobody knows it. Like, we get to go there and remember what it was like
to be anonymous.
To be anonymous,
Sort of.
in a special way. And not that we don't love what we do, because
Right.
we 100% do, and are so thankful to God for the church. But to just have that, it kind of like that reconnection to who we were before that time. And so whenever we have a chance, when you're not on, whenever we have a chance to go see Tyler or go to visit at Rich Pond, we do that for sure. And so we did. What's interesting, so I did youth ministry for 10 years or so, if you include the time at King's and you include the time at New Hope. And that was a different time, because then after that, becoming the senior pastor of a church, you got put in this role of being pastor's wife, senior pastor's wife, and then also we're raising 4 kids in this environment and in that role. And I don't know, maybe you could speak a little bit to that. Like, have you had challenges? Or maybe we know you've had challenges, but what are the challenges of being in that seat?
Well, I was thinking about this. Something I've never forgotten that Debbie Tassio from King's Community told me when you first came here as the youth pastor, and you were being asked to go places around the world. And we had no family here. And so then people would say to me, you should go too. And we had like a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'll be honest, I mean, I had no desire to go, still don't. That's one thing you'll find about, this about me, but I'm just pretty content to be home. I feel like my adventure was going to Mobile, Alabama in college, and I'm sort of like, I've had an adventure. I'm good. But anyway, life is an adventure, right? So anyway, at the time when they would say that to me, you should go, I really didn't want to. And I feel, and it wasn't as if the elders were telling me I had to go. It was nothing like that. I tend to take everything at the time, everything people say, and analyze it and wonder if I'm supposed to do that. So Debbie Tassio said, no, you don't have to worry about that, because I was asking her advice. She had been a pastor's wife for a long time. And she said, he's going, and you may just stay and take care of your family and just feel good about that. You're taking care of your family. And now, if I had the desire to go, I'm not saying that's the way it should be for everyone. But for me, that was very freeing. And I really appreciated her saying that, because I wanted to stay and be there. I wanted our kids to have that consistency that I was there. And so, but for me, our church here has always been wonderful. Just like Rich Pond. I mean, and so a lot of the things that I dealt with were things that I put on myself that I had to work through. Expectations that maybe I thought people had, but they really didn't. It was a lot of times in my head, and I had to work through things. And you were always good about that. Help if I talk it out. And then you kind of help me see that, sometimes I just needed to get it out. And then you would kind of help me see that isn't necessarily what is expected. That's a lot in your head.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the challenge of ministry. We're husband and wife first. We're pastor and pastor's wife second. Mm-hmm. Not second, actually, we're mom and dad second. Mm-hmm. And then we're pastor and pastor's wife and third. And, but we still struggle with the demands of ministry.
Trying to balance.
Because you want to be there for people. You want to be there for the ministries. You want to be there for people who ask you to be somewhere.
Right.
And we both genuinely care. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we're a team. Yeah. But as a team, we can't both go to all the same things together. Right. In fact, it's very rare that you and I do that. And I think we
We got to ride to church together on Sunday morning because the van wouldn't make it up there.
That was amazing, y'all. So, in fact, I even said something about it when we were driving to church.
5 of us were driving to church.
We're driving to church together.
I'm not going to say how many cars we normally take, but that's more because we're all control freaks and want to drive our own car.
Yeah, but this goes back to being a family and whatever. Yeah. And this is, it might seem like a small sacrifice, but it's important. But we were driving Nashville. It snowed, and we had a crazy amount of snow. I say it was 8 inches of snow. You say it was not.
You said that before you had even been out.
Yeah, but there was a lot of ice on the road, and our minivan wouldn't make it up the hill. Mm-mm. So we took my car, and we all piled in together and drove to church together early. And it was like we were just one big happy family. Yeah. It was a special.
It was a little early.
We weren't smiling.
Kudos to the worship team who gets here that early every week. We're thankful for you all.
Yes. So we made it to church, But yeah, so getting back to the main point that you were making, sometimes we get asked to do things, but our kids, especially being at the age that they are, where we kind of agreed and said no, the way this ministry thing works is if I'm able to be there, then you're probably not going to be there, or if you're going to be there, then I'm probably not going to be there, and that's just the way it is. And our church has been wonderful about that.
Our church has never questioned that at all. Yeah. And but there are a lot of things that come up, and there are a lot of things that you want to be able to be at or be a part of, and my mom might laugh. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a part of everything, and I was making myself sick. And my mom taught me back then, learn to say no. And I learned it well.
Yeah, you did, 100%.
Because I realized I can't be a part of everything. And that's one thing. The older I get, the more excited I get about heaven because we'll have nothing but time.
Yeah. Well, we'll have nothing but time. This is a quality, and I've already told. She knows what I'm about to say probably with this, and because I tell people about this all the time. It's like if Sarah makes up her mind on something, that's the way it's going to be. So if she says no to something, and then people go try to convince her, and I'll be like, just stop. It's not going to work. Just let her. She's made up her mind, and that's the way. And back in the day,
that was really good with peer pressure.
Yeah.
Nobody could pressure me into anything. I didn't care.
You just shut it down.
Yeah.
That's a good quality. All right. So let's go. So, there are some pastors and people maybe raising kids in the church that are listening to this, and, we have a college student. We have another, Jordan, who's about to graduate high school in a few months here, which is unbelievable. Mary Beth, who's also in high school, and then our youngest, Alyssa. We have 4 kids who are in different phases of life. College student, high school students, elementary school students. And we've raised them up in the church and are really blessed by them and who they are and how they love the church. And, we continue to pray for them, but as, they love being here.
Yeah, they do. And that says a lot about New Hope.
It does.
This is an awesome church.
100%. And, early on when we became in the senior leadership role, we went and attended a conference in Oklahoma. It was called Seeds Conference. They don't have it anymore, but it's a Church on the Move. And one of the sessions that was a breakout session was led by the senior pastor at the time. His name's Willie George. Some will know him. He was Gospel Bill when I was growing up, but he became a pastor, started Church on the Move, grew it up. And he did a breakout of what he learned on 40 plus years of ministry. And he said something in there that for you and I, at that time, when young kids, that
was really helpful.
Really was helpful. I can give my version of it, and then I don't know what your version of it was, but you want to go first?
Well, it was kind of along the same lines as what Debbie said, but your family comes first. And so now you still have to do your job, and you have to do it well with integrity, and you have to find a way to balance it all. But he said that if something came up for his children, I believe, like on a Wednesday night, he would say, I have to go to my child's concert. And now I'm not saying he missed church on Sunday mornings or anything like that, but he put his children's lives first so that they could not use the church as an excuse to why they wouldn't want to follow the Lord.
That's what I remember. One of the things that really stood out, and I don't remember if he used this exact language, but he said this: pastors, never make the church the villain to your kids.
Yeah, that's a good way to, that's right.
So, like, if something were happening and he was going through something difficult in ministry, he didn't badmouth the church to his kids.
Right.
He didn't badmouth the people of the church to his kids. If he had to go be at a church function, he didn't talk about it. Well, the church is taking me away from you, or let the kids think that. He never made the church the villain, so that when his kids grew up, in fact, one of his kids is the pastor of that church now, and he has kids who are pastors of other churches. I remember that like really resonated with us. That was like, see, we're not going to do that.
Right. And I don't know why you would. I mean, that is very sensible. The church is the bride of Christ. And like I said, we're all messy. But of course, if you make the church out to be a problem, then that's the way your kids are going to view it. So, but it was very good for him to put that into words and just lay it out like that for us. Yeah.
Another funny thing that happened in that. So, like, Willie George gave all these wonderful tips and tests, whatever. And he said one thing that was awesome, because he's like, he had his kids who were involved in the church, and then he had a lot of his kids, their friends were involved in the church. Oh, that's right. And a lot of pastors were asking him, how did you get that to happen? He said, I gave them opportunities, and I let them know I was always there for them. I was never separated from them. So I was like, this profile. I come back to New Hope, and
you were inspired.
I was inspired, and I had this moment, and I had all the kids come up, and I was like, I like get down with the kids, and I was like, I'm always here for you. Don't you worry about that. And then we get home,
and the kids, ours were some of them.
Yes,
they were like 10 and 7 and 3 maybe.
Yeah, and so Tyler, our oldest, you want to tell what he?
So Tyler said, did he say it at church, like as soon as the service was over?
Not with anyone around.
Maybe, yeah. And he went up and he said, oh, yeah, that's nice. You're there for everybody else. But if I need to talk to you at church, you're not there for me. We were dying.
Yeah, which is not true, which is funny, because then Tyler always makes these grandiose statements that they're just not true, people. And he's awesome. But even when I had him on the podcast here, remember, like right before Christmas, and like the first thing he says, well, you're married to the church.
Right.
What? Are you kidding me? Like, no,
no.
I know, but he cracks me up with these statements. So he was just being
he uses exaggeration. I wonder where he gets that from.
Probably, yeah.
Neither of us.
No, that would be me, who has a tendency to exaggerate in a good way. All right, so let's go back to talking about with pastor's wife and challenges and things, and in our, especially with the kids, I think if you were being honest, you probably had a little bit of a struggle with just kind of finding your identity and your place in the church.
Well, and then when you want to be around more, you're just torn. I mean, and it's really the plight of probably most mothers, to be honest. Like, you want to be a part of things going on more, but you also want to be there for your children. And so, I remember a lot of times when we were doing Walk Through Jerusalem. Everybody would be here setting up, and I didn't have any family who lived here. I was home with my kids. And you'd be like, we're all going out. Oh, that's nice. I'm going to put them to bed. There were a lot of times when I felt left out and I struggled. And, retreats, youth retreats, when you were taking kids. I wanted to go really bad. I love it. I'm excited because I get to go now. I get to go take the middle schoolers with Gavin and some of the high schoolers a week from Friday. But back in the day when I didn't have any family here.
Yeah.
So now when we were at King's Community in Indiana, we had family there. But here, when we first moved here for 7 years, we did not. And so you would go and you'd go with some of our friends, and I wanted to be a part of that. But I also, the pull to be there with the kids was way stronger. And I knew in my heart that if I left and wasn't there with our kids, that I would regret it. So I loved being home with the kids. I love it. I still love it. So, I mean, it's just that way, I think, for most women. But that was more how it was, I think, for me, is wishing I could be more a part of things. But also, I'm going to take care of my family.
Well, you did that for sure. And I think in all that, you are making sacrifices that the dividends of it are paying off now and into the future, and that you really solidified a foundation in Christ for our kids. You know, we know what Scripture says about husband and wife and fathers taking lead and things like that. But I have always said this, and you don't like this, I think, but you're smarter than me. You're better than me, and gosh darn it, people like you.
I can dictate book facts back, but I wouldn't say that I'm smarter than you. I can do an elementary math intervention. You might not be able to do elementary math intervention.
Well, okay.
That's about the only area.
But
anyway,
well, I'm offended. I'm calling an end to this thing.
I found a verse. Actually, it was in Alyssa's devotion last night, and it was awesome. It was 3 John. There's only one chapter, verse 4. And it says, it's John saying, "My beloved children, there's no greater joy for me than that my children walk in the truth." And I think we've tried to keep that always in the forefront of our mind with every decision we made. Of course, we haven't done it perfectly, and if you could rewind back to when all our kids were little, you would hear a lot of screaming, lots of that going on.
We're normal. We are normal people.
Tempers.
Well, and that's funny that you say that, because I think we've done a lot that we can. I mean, you hear a lot about like pastors' kids and that they have to be fake and that they have to like put on this whatever. And I don't think if they've done it, it's because they've done it to themselves. But we've had Tyler and Jordan on here, Mary Beth and Alyssa are begging to come on here. They want to come on here so bad because they have no filter. They know that mommy and daddy don't say, "You better make sure you act like you're supposed to act." No,
and we tried hard not to do that.
No.
Now, I will say, I was mulling that all over too in my mind, and I did get very angry at them if they were disrespectful to people, and to the point where I was kind of beating myself up about it sometimes. But there were a few incidences in my mind with our kids where I really came down hard on them when we left. And we don't really ground our kids. I kind of go with the theory that His mercies are new every morning, and if you let it drag on for a long time, they're not going to remember what they're being punished for anyway. Mm-hmm. The discipline in my mind is more like you're guiding them, and I came down hard on them a couple times when they were disrespectful to people in the church. And my dad would have come down hard on me. You be respectful. Now, we never were good at the yes sir and yes ma'am thing. But we grew up in the North. It was Mr. and Mrs. But other than that, they need to be respectful to people. They need to be obedient. When they would go to school, I would tell them, if the teacher talks, you stop, listen, and obey. Not just listen to the teacher. Stop and listen and obey.
And I think that, again, that would have been the case whether we were in the ministry or not. That's just the expectation.
So that's what I wanted them to be respectful and to be obedient to the authority, whoever the authority was. But as far as like, we never, ever, ever, I don't think said, don't embarrass us. Yeah. You're the pastor's kid. Because again, that would be making the church a villain.
Fact, I will say this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I have never one time said to our kids ever, I'm the pastor, and if you act like that, it'll reflect poorly on me. And you have never said anything about we're in ministry, and it will reflect poorly on. We made a commitment that would never be a sentence that would come out of our mouths.
Now when we're teaching, though, when I'm teaching, okay, I'm just going to do a shout out for Mary Beth right now. Mary Beth was a really good sport when I took over the middle school because she was in 7th grade. And
she's a freshman.
She got called out sometimes, Mary Beth, more so than the other kids did because she was my child. So our kids were good sports about that.
But she's a social. She loves being.
She'll tell everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, that stuff's kind of fun. Oh man, but it's been a blast, and it's been really cool to see them develop. And we can't emphasize this enough. I mean, even though there have been difficulties along the way at New Hope when it comes to just challenges of life, and we have shielded them from some of the difficult behind the scenes things that we just don't want them to have to deal with. No. One of our sons the other day, he said, one of these days you're going to tell me all this stuff. And I was like, because he wants to go into ministry, and I was like, oh, well, okay.
Maybe so.
And I probably need to pull the curtain back a little bit here. But we've been blessed by this church that I can't think of a better place where you can raise kids and in this role, and a church that is so understanding and loving and welcoming.
They know our kids. They know what a great church this is. I mean, they love this place. They love the people, and everyone is so welcoming all the time. And they also know that. I mean, we don't tell them everything, but they know that people are people. And that we mess up sometimes, and that other people might mess up sometimes, but that you just kind of walk through it, and you're like family. And I think they view it that way too. Even in youth group. I mean, they've had times in youth group where they might get frustrated with other people, just like because they're like siblings for them. They love their youth group, and they love their friends. So, I mean, that's always been their best friends. And whenever, like, if any other job ever presented itself for you, it was like, how can we take our kids from here? We can't.
Right. Yeah.
This place, it's the most wonderful place to raise our kids.
One of the funniest things that happened, so when I did the sabbatical 2 years ago, and I remember I first came home and I said, okay, the elders of the church, they're going to have me take a little sabbatical and be gone. And the kids said, well, we're not leaving. We're going. Go have your fun. Yeah, right. We're staying at the church. Our friends are there, and our classes are there, and I was like, that's not the point of a sabbatical. Like, I'm supposed to be disconnected, and I'm a time of refreshing. And they're like,
but that's you.
They were like,
that's not us.
I know.
And that is the hard part about ministry, because for you, it still is a job, and it is good to be able to disconnect. You need to be able to do that with any job. Sometimes you have to disconnect, but for them, it's not a job. It's their church. They love it. They don't look at it like that's my dad's job. This is our church. This is our family. We're not leaving.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the aspect of it that I love. And I think, of course, we all make mistakes, and we all have some funny. I will let's share this. Do you think Tyler will be mad if we share the TV story?
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So I'm gonna do it. So we had one particular occasion.
Oh no, you're gonna make us sound really bad.
I am.
Right? Oh,
but I'll do it in a good way. How about this?
Yeah, I think you've already told this story.
No, not on here. I haven't. So listen. I'll just say this in the nicest way that I can. We were really proud of our kids, and because we were so proud of them, I thought, well, that we must be pretty good parents, and so. We were like, our kids are so good. We must have done something right. I mean, clearly, whatever. And so we're having coffee, like we're on this date night, whatever. And this is years ago now.
Yeah.
And we drive home.
It was like 5 or 6.
We drive home, and our boys are sitting on the front porch
at 10 o'clock at night.
At 10 o'clock at night.
It was strange.
With looks on their face like something not good happened. And it turned out the oldest had, playing the video games, lost his temper and threw the
remote at the
TV.
Which didn't you do the same thing when you were?
When I was a kid, 100%.
Which is why you didn't get another video game set.
My parents gave us the original Nintendo game set, and when that game cheated, which it did all the time, I would hit a button and it wouldn't work.
That's what Tyler says.
And I fired that thing at the controller, it broke it, and we never got another one. And so Tyler did that. And here we had just talked about our kids are just under control and things are... And then,
no, we didn't say it like that.
Well, maybe that was in my head. I made this up. Yeah, it was a humbling moment.
That's the most mad I've ever seen you.
Yeah. It was like, really? Unbelievable. I was like, as a pastor's kid, you can't do this.
No,
no, I didn't say that.
You just went in another room.
Well, and I just prayed. Is that what you're saying?
You left me to deal with it because you couldn't handle it.
But
he worked for that TV.
He did.
He paid for it.
He paid for it out of his own money.
He did pay for that TV.
He did work hard. So, but yeah, it was just kind of a funny, humbling moment.
Yeah.
To like just go, yeah, they're still kids, and we'll still say that now. Yeah. They're still kids and going through life and making their own way.
Well, the funny story that comes to my mind, and Lauren Cochran would remember this, and this is why it's so fun to think back all these years when you've been in one place for so long. And one of our children was screaming because of the Shine Bucks store not getting what was wanted or whatever. And so just screaming, wouldn't stop.
It's the kids' store in children's church.
This child was not a toddler, but just screaming. And you were talking to people. You were still a youth pastor. And you're talking to people, and I was just done. He just wouldn't stop. I said he just wouldn't stop screaming. And he was pretty little still. So anyway, I walked around into the lobby entrance and kind of like pushed him forward and went, "Josh, I am done." And like, you take him. And a bunch of youth group kids, girls, went, "Oh, they're fighting." Like you and me were fighting, which, I mean, sure, we fought. We argued all the time. That's the way our relationships go.
It's the one and only fight that we've ever had. Because I love you.
It was, "Oh, they're fighting." And I'll never forget Lauren Cochran. She said to those girls, "Don't you say that again.
Yeah.
Until you have children, you have no idea what it's like. They are not fighting."
Yeah. I do remember that, Lauren nipping that in the bud, because it was they were insinuating something's
that
wrong.
We have problems.
Something's wrong in the marriage.
Which arguing for us doesn't mean anything's wrong.
No, we know people who
we thrive on
that's
it.
the romance for them. That's not us, but it definitely is that. No, man. All right, well, let's just kind of bring this to a close because, I mean, I could just talk to you for the rest of my life.
That's nice.
It's just
we can do that.
Wonderful. Why don't we just pick this up over dinner? How about that? You want to go on a date?
We have girls at home wondering what's for dinner right now.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do that. But no, thank you for coming on here. And I always say this and sing Sarah's praises all the time. I've told her this before. She's a wonderful, godly woman who knows the Lord and she's always in her Bible and reading, and God has great things for her. It's why she teaches middle school and she passes this on, and she does a great job with that and grows that group, grows those kids and whoever.
And I just want to say too, I love all the kids. I mean, I really do. I've enjoyed working with Lauren and Sandy, with the young kids, with the college students, with the high school students. I love all of them.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just privileged right now. I really do enjoy working with the middle schoolers because they are very passionate and they're very entertaining. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of fun. But I love all these kids very much. They become like your own children, and you pray for them. And for anyone who's, I just want to say too, for anyone who's praying for their own child, because our children can make their own choices, and if you're still praying for your own child to come to follow the Lord, just keep praying, and we want to pray too. I mean, this is the body of Christ, and I think as we're studying the book of Acts in the middle school, I was thinking about how people came forward with their sick. People came forward with those who needed to be healed. We want to pray, and we're not going to, life is messy, and it's so messy. The older we get, we realize we all have baggage and struggles, but come forward with what you need prayer for. We want to pray. Yeah.
And one of the things that we've been blessed with at this church, and we know there are a group of friends that we have who have been close with us from our back group. We used to call them Mix, but several people we could just name on here right now that we've raised our kids together and have been praying for each other and a part of each other's lives in this.
And have had our kids' backs and treated our kids like nieces and nephews, and we're praying for other people's kids too.
Right.
And so
and praying for us as parents, as because we're not perfect and we're not getting it right. And by no means do we like hold or look down on anyone. I mean, it's like we're in this together and being a family. Yeah. For sure.
And prayer is huge. And you and I were very blessed with parents and grandparents that were all praying for us. And in the hard times when you asked me about being a pastor's wife, there was a 7 or 8 year span there where I was very thankful that my parents lived here.
Yeah.
Because that really did help us. That got us through some really hard times.
Yeah.
So
last question. All right. So is it difficult sometimes to hear me tell stories on Sunday mornings and I'm not getting the facts right?
Yes. Yes. I mean, the people who have been here for a long time would remember that there were a couple times at the beginning that I was like, that's not right. I couldn't even help it. And then I had to learn. I think I've matured because now I just make myself be quiet.
Now
I sit and I say, don't make a fool of yourself. Be quiet.
Are you saying that to yourself, or you're saying that about me? Don't make a fool of myself.
No, I'm saying I tell myself that.
Yeah.
Because no one knows if you're getting the facts wrong except me. But then I tell you later.
Well, I usually know when I'm getting the facts wrong when you're either staring at the ground or your lips are pursed.
What's harder is when you say a word wrong in the announcements. Because then I'm like, is he going to say it again?
I get that.
Read it before.
I say words wrong all the time. And I say...
But that goes along with having to say so much on the stage.
I say Bible words wrong. I say announcement words wrong. One time, folks, and we joke about this all the time, back when the charcuterie boards were just becoming a thing and people cut meats and cheeses on these boards, and I had never seen this word in my life. And they hand me this announcement sheet, and I was like, there's going to be a caricature event. And then I looked at it again. I was like, there's a character board. There's a... There
really needs to be read before you get on stage.
And I could not get it right. And I'm terrible at some of these Bible names. I'm from Chicago, so that I enunciate every vowel. This is a problem that whatever. And so Sarah is very patient with me in all of those things. I get it from my dad, who doesn't pronounce things correctly either. There was a pizza place growing up that was called Milano's, and my dad would say, "You guys want Marathis, huh?"
I mean, who cares? Who cares how you pronounce it?
There you go.
Yeah.
So you put up with a lot from me, and I appreciate it. So anyway, we're blessed to have you at New Hope leading the middle school, leading the middle school ministry.
It's very formal. We're blessed to have you too, Pastor.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, anyway, this was awesome having you on here, and I'm glad it was finally able to happen, and I'm sure it'll happen again. And you are someone who I am so thankful for and blessed to have, and I learn from you every day. I probably learn more from you than you learn from me. I'm saying all these sweet things. I'll write this in your next card, right? Okay? How about that? And make it special. Any final words you want to say?
Just that I love working on staff at New Hope, and I love our staff.
Mm-hmm.
We have an awesome staff, and I'm just thankful to be able to, and I'm very thankful that you and I have been able to work together, probably because it's on a part-time basis. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we could do full-time.
Yeah. Well, it took some...
But it's cool.
It took some figuring out.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Because there are challenges in it. The biggest challenge for me was kind of when I'm trying to find times to disconnect. Yeah. And then when we do see each other, you have things that you want to talk about. And so...
Remember, can I just say one time we were out for dinner, and I just... We were together, and so I just wanted to ask a quick question about... a scholarship for someone, and it was a budget question.
Yeah.
It didn't go over well.
I was like, I don't want to...
In my mind, it was just taking care of somebody, but in your mind, it was a budget question.
In my mind, it's like I had chips and queso in front of me, and I don't want to talk about the church budget.
But in my mind, it was just a quick, yes or no, you think this, but yeah, that didn't go. So yeah, there have been things we have to understand about each other. Mm-hmm. But I think we're pretty good at I think I've learned when maybe to bring things up. We've always been pretty good at emailing each other.
Yeah, we do email. Well, we've kind of gotten away from that. But I will say this, I was going to bring this to a close, but I guess we can keep this going. And I've told the church this before, and I think that what's interesting is, when you're in ministry together and you're working as a team together, at different times, mm-hmm. God will make sure that when one person is up and the other's down, mm-hmm. But you're never down at the same time.
That's true.
And that when one wants to quit, mm-hmm. the other one's like, no, keep going.
Yeah.
And then it goes back vice mm-hmm. versa. Mm-hmm. And we've had those times. And I remember in the most difficult times that I've had in particular, there was one where I was like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And you were like, no, you're mm-hmm. not. Mm-hmm. And so I tell people flat out, you're the one who kept me in this when things were really hard.
Well, that was a time when, in my mind, you were being overcome by the emotion and the pain of it. In my mind, it was very cut and dried, clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that you were supposed to stay.
Yeah, and it's tough. And I will say this: this is kind of cool. We had one time that both of us were kind of down and having a really difficult time and ready to kind of throw in the towel on something. And then a wonderful couple here at the church, I'd just say it, Todd and Sherry Hutchison, mm-hmm. were like, is everything okay? We just want to pray for you right mm-hmm. now. Because
that's true.
And we were both like, oh, I guess mm-hmm. we'll be okay.
I think the prayer time.
That was a
plug for prayer time.
That was a plug for prayer time because we both went into that prayer time going, it's not good.
We were tired. Yeah.
Yes, very tired. And they, Holy Spirit mm-hmm. gave it to them, picked up on it, and they prayed for us. Mm-hmm. And that conversation made us, mm-hmm. it was special. I think that'll go into my memories. Yes. And so thank you to Todd and Sherry for doing mm-hmm. that. It was a special time for sure. So anyway, all right.
All right.
We did it.
This was fun.
I don't know. You want to go home and have dinner?
Now we can go home and listen to it and see what we need to edit out.
Yes. Well, I don't think there was anything that you said other than whatever. Right. Yeah. But anyway, all right. Thanks to everybody. Thank you to Sarah, my wife. We've been married for 23, almost 24 years. It's the year of Josh and Sarah.
No, we will never say that again.
You
said that in 2020, and we will never say that again.
I said that in 2020, folks. Our anniversary in August of 2000. And that year I was like, we're going to do a big cruise. It's going to be the year of Josh and Sarah. And then COVID happened in that year. It was like, I
lost my dad.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really bad year.
It was a bad year.
Don't ever say that again.
I won't say that again. I promise. Okay. All right, folks. Special thanks to Sarah for being on here and the wonderful work that she does at the ministry at the middle school, and then also just in what she does here, just representing the church well and with our kids. And I'm just so thankful for her. So anyway, thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you soon.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hey, every week we have new episodes of the Josh Huisman podcast. And thank you so much for listening, watching, whatever it may be. Tell your friends and family about it. Share it with neighbors and click subscribe, follow, whatever it takes. And we'll be back here with a new episode on Monday. We'll see you soon.